the Bible for a reason. And what is the reason that God gave us the Bible? That we can know him. And also, what is another reason? So we can know how he wants us to live our lives. How would we know how God wants us to live our lives if we didn't have the Bible? So, in every situation that happens, God has something he wants us to do. Now, we've already learned one of our memory verses, and that was, in all your ways, you do what? Acknowledge him. Oh, yes, Lord. Okay, all right. What would you have me to do here? Now, in acknowledging God in all our ways, and that means things that we don't even think we need God's help with. Oh, I can do this on my own. No, acknowledge God. And when we acknowledge God, we basically want to ask him for the right decisions, but also for the right attitudes. What are some of the attitudes he wants us to have? Yes. Kind. Exactly. Lord, help me to be kind. Help me to be humble. Loving. Exactly. And we need to ask the Lord that in what we say to people and what we do, we will be kind and loving. So in all our ways. And then, we're going to have a verse later, and it's going to say, be anxious about nothing. Don't let anything upset you. In everything, go to him. So in just things that we don't even need him, and things that we're kind of anxious about. But today's verse deals with something else. And it deals with something that we need to know. Because when we need to know this, we need to know what we are to do. And that is, God says, when there is trouble. Now, it's not the kind of trouble you get into, but it is when things happen. God made a perfect earth, didn't he? Why is it not perfect today? Because he let man make a choice. And man chose not to follow his rules. And when man chooses not to follow his rules, then he lies. He's not truthful. Then he can steal. He doesn't work for the things. Then he can, get angry and take somebody's life. All these things. God gave man a choice. But its trouble comes from the evil in the world, and the evil comes from man's heart. But we can have trouble apart from that, from the fallen creation, hurricanes, things like that. But when there is trouble, now, you know that most of the television shows, especially in the early beginning, they were all written about somebody in trouble, and then what would happen? The masked rider would come just at the right time. It was always trouble. You couldn't see how they were going to get out of that trouble, but then someone came in to save them. All of our superheroes today, is that what it's all about? Somebody's in really bad trouble, they come in and they save them. Wouldn't it be nice if you just yelled, help, help when you're in trouble, and someone would come in and save you? Well, is that possible? Well, you know what? Let's just say that, there's somebody that says, I want you to call upon me when you are in trouble. Now, who do you think says, somebody could say, call upon me? What if they're 5,000 miles away? What if they didn't have the power to help you? So if this person says, call upon me in the day of trouble, who do you think it might be?
Jesus.
Lord.
That's right, Jesus. It would be God. Call upon God in the day of trouble. Because you know what? He's omnipresent. What does omnipresent mean? It means here, he's with me. There, he's with you. He's everywhere. So because he's omnipresent, I can call on him wherever I am, and he is going to hear me. But you know what? It's more than just being omnipresent. Your mom and dad can be with you, and something bad happens, but you know what they don't have? They don't have the power to help you. But do we need to worry about that with God? No, because he's omnipotent. That means all-powerful. It means he's full of power, full of might, omnipotent. He can help you in any situation. So he says, don't worry, don't get upset. And kids, I want to tell you something that's really sad that happens in trouble. In fact, you know the number one thing that people do not like about God, and the number one question they would have for him? They've taken surveys. I just heard one recently. Why is there evil in the world? Why do bad things happen? And so some people, when trouble comes their way, you know what they say? Well, if there's a God and the God loves me, then this wouldn't happen to me, so I don't believe in God anymore. You know what? The God who made and created you is saying, when you are in trouble, don't turn away from me, but do what? Call upon me. I am there. I will help you. And so he says, call upon me in the day of trouble. Now, when you call upon God, there's a word for it. What is it? It is praying, right? So call upon him. But I want to say that there have been so many people that they say when you are in trouble and there is a really dangerous situation, especially if there's someone that maybe is there to hurt you or whatever, you need to call unto God out loud. There's a prayer in the Bible that somebody prayed when they really needed help. Do you remember what it was? It's one you can memorize. Lord, save me. That's right. And so you need to call out and call out to Jesus. Call out to him. You need to know that. Call out to God. Call out loud. God is there. He will help you. And then you are to do this. Then he tells you what I'm going to do. And what do you think he says he will do if you call on him? Yeah. He says, I will deliver you. Now, I want to say that God has a plan and a purpose for each person on this earth. And so God says there's different ways he delivers us. Sometimes he takes us big flood. Sometimes he takes us through the flood. Sometimes he spares us from the flood. Sometimes he takes us through the fire. Sometimes he spares us from the fire. So when we call upon him, he will deliver us. And when we call upon him, he'll give us wisdom. He'll give us clear thinking. He'll give us peace. He'll give us direction in what we ought to do. And so we call upon him in the day of trouble, and he says, I will deliver you. Now, do you know a lot of people know about God, and they believe God will really help them, but when they get in trouble, do they call upon him? Well, they complain, and they talk to others, and they, they feel sorry for themselves, and there's just a lot of things. But have you really prayed about it? Have you really called upon God? And sometimes, well, no, I really haven't. And then he says something that is very, very important. And he says, what is this? Call upon me when? In the day of trouble, and I will deliver you. And then he says there's something you should do. Now, before I tell you what you should do, two things you need to do. One thing he will do is deliver you. As I was reading a book over the vacation time, and it was Peter Marshall's The Light and the Glory. And it was talking about when the Virginia colony started in America, it was a disaster from the beginning because people came over there and they really weren't seeking after God. But when the Puritans then came, they were seeking after God. And they had a lot of trouble. And they would have famine. They would have so little to eat. You've heard of the 5 little corns, and that's all they ate every day. They would have these cold, cold winters without shelter. They had plagues that came upon them. They had enemies. And all of these things that happened to them, they did what the next part says, and they grew so strong in the Lord. You see, sometimes the trouble that comes to us, God gives us for a reason. And the next part says, they glorified him. It says, and you shall glorify me. Now, I want to say this. If you know that you can call upon God in the day of trouble, but you've never really had trouble, you know you can, and you've never really called upon him, your faith is not strengthened. Because these early pilgrims, they went through all of these hardships, and then they said, what happened to them? And you know what happened to them? Their children came along. Well, they grew the food. They made nice shelters. They had things against sickness. And so the children never really had the trouble. And so they never really learned that God was there for them. And then, of course, what happened to the grandchildren? I mean, they were gone. And that happens in every single time. God uses hardship for a purpose, to train us. And when you have been delivered from something that is very serious, you glorify God. Thank you so much. You did this for me. And so, guys, when hardship comes in your life, should we resist it? What should we do? Call upon God. And then when he delivers us, what should we do?
Glorify him.
Oh, thank you so much. And so, and I want to say, this is a very necessary promise. Why is it so necessary? God says, in the world you will have what? You're going to have trouble. You're going to have tribulation. You can do everything right, and if you follow me, you're still going to have things that happen because we live in a fallen world. But what does God say? You can what? Call upon God, and he is going to be the one that comes and delivers you? Wow. Do we have to be afraid? Not at all. And the world is getting to be a scarier time. So this is very, very important that we learn this. And in our story today, there was someone that knew this first, had probably learned it as a child too. It was already there when she was there. And this is exactly what she did. All right. So now we're going to do the motions, and then we're going to sing it. All right. Now, you know what, guys? I did give you one of these. And so you can cut it out and put it up as you do it if you want to, or you can just, I was intending to do that, and then I left them all here. There we go. Want me to-
Okay, so you know how we usually have a long version of this verse? So if you go to the long version, it's the same song and verse, but it's repeated. It's done 3 times. And Brian decides to be really clever, and so it speeds up the second time, and it really speeds up the third time. So, and I can't do the motions on the third time. So it's up to you. I mean, depending on your children, if you really want to do it and have fun, or else just do the song and do it twice. We'll play it just so that you see it, and then you can decide if you think it's good for your kids. So as far as the emotions, is this the one? Call upon me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. Psalm 50, verse 15. It's the same motions that we've done before, right? Oh, you want glorify me?
Yes, I
No?
do.
Glorify me. Like fireworks, right? Right. We know about that from New Year's Eve, especially our neighborhood. Yeah. Okay.
Call upon me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. Psalm 50, verse 15.
Faster.
Let's go a bit faster.
Call upon me in the day of trouble, I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. Psalm 50, verse 15.
Now it's
Let's
really
go a bit faster.
Call upon me in the day of trouble, I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. Psalm 50, verse 15.
Let's
So-
go a little fast.
No.
Rosa, you try it.
So that's basically it. So you can have fun with the kids with that, or you can stop it after the second time. It's hard to do the motions, or at least for me it is. So do we go
You
back
guys
to
need
the
to do it
beginning?
again, or it's
Or
fine?
do we go through the whole?
We should go through the whole thing. But do you want to do it again? No?
Yeah, well, let's
Wow.
just do it the,
Just like our
the
kids.
one.
Yes, no, no, yeah.
We'll just do it the one time. The slower version.
Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. Psalm 50, verse 15.
Okay, so now we're gonna go through
Okay.
all of them.
All of them, okay.
Everyone should know them, but those that are new, you can have the words up.
Psalm 119, 116. The sum of your words